Y'all. So, I love the world building in Deltora Quest, but I just realized that I probably missed the most important part of the world, and maybe you did too. This is arguably the most important part of the world, but I'm gonna share it with you. To start, for this to make any sense, you have to read the Three Doors series, also by Emily Rada, and takes place in the world and has so much to do with the Shadow Lord's backstory. But for now, I'm gonna do a quick summary just for the people that need it. But it's supposed to be in the Sea of Serpents, it's down here. But we know that the continent of Deltora is supposed to be to the east of the island, or I think is what it was stated in the book. I could be wrong. Anyway, it's not super important. But basically, there's 3 time-traveling doors. Well, not all 3 of them are time-traveling. There is the gold, the silver, and the wood thingy no one cares. It's called the third door. That one just goes to the present. It's out of a wall. No one cares about that door. But the gold one, it goes to the past. And the silver one goes to the future. But of course, if you change the past, you change the present, you change the future. But if you change the future, nothing happens. And then if you go back to the present and change the present, then you can make it so that future never happened, in which case you literally did nothing. And of course, if you change the future, you could argue that is then in a different universe or a different dimension, and therefore nothing actually happened. And the only thing that the future changes is the present, which then changes the future. So the future has the opportunity to change another future, and has opportunity to change the present, but not the past. The present has opportunity to change the future and the present, of course. And the past has the opportunity to change both of them in very different ways. Great. We got that cleared up. So that is a very confusing concept in the magical doors, and yeah, hopefully you're with me. Okay, just to make this clear, they can take items back and forth between the past and the future and the present. Of course, the present is their baseline. They can also take people from one world to another. In fact, someone from the present ended up marrying someone from the past. That's insane. That's insane. I feel like we can agree on that. I'll get more into why that is insane if you still don't believe me in just a sec. But it does rule out if you have a wound in the past or the future and you can bring it to the present, and then you can bring it to the other one. So yeah, that's it. That's the thing. We'll get into why this means that maybe none of these characters actually exist in the first place. Not like in the fiction. I mean, their lives before a certain point when they decided to go into one of these doors didn't exist in the world that they are then living in when they return to the door, because they changed the past. So then that may change their past, which then means that their memories could be false, and basically that the world gaslighted them. This is, pretty crazy. Anyway, there's many different theories about this that I can go into, but I'm going to start with one of my favorite. This theory basically is that there are an infinite number of dimensions, and each one of them, a singular thing was done differently, which means one character made a different decision or one different thing happened. But each of them is has a variety of one. So there's a literal copy of everything that could have happened through infinite time and space. And that these are not a link to the past. That these doors actually are a link to another dimension. This also means, because this is set in the same world, and it has the Shadow Lord. The Shadow Lord's literally in this. They're in, this is the island where the Shadow Lord started, like where they were born, in fact. So that's where that whole drama starts, which means in one of these universes, Leif never grew up just as like a regular prince and assumed the throne. And yeah, because that time period, because in one of the possible futures, in fact, that they went into, that the characters in the Three Door series went into, one of them, the Shadow Lord stayed on the island and was just about to attack Deltora. They hadn't yet. They were going to send these weird winged beast skimmers things that eat humans that are super creepy, and you won't like. They're super horrid. I hate them. They're like the rip-off version of bats. Yeah, I love bats. I don't like these things. They're like weird. Yeah, they're called skimmers. Great. They were about to send these like mutant skimmers to Del to invade. But in that time zone, that was a time period that Leif had already probably lived his life. So, or Leif was probably like old at that point, actually, because we have a character that they saw in the present, or I think, yeah, that they saw, I believe, in the present or in the past. Blah. This guy, anyway, his name is Bones. Comments, y'all can tell me the whole length, but it's not super important. But they did meet him before. Yeah, no, they met him in the present. They later met him in the present when he was younger, before that happened. In fact, they prevented that from ever happening, which was such a weird thing to think about, because it still happened. The atrocities still happened to the people, the people that were starving and dying and worked to death in fields. Like, the main character still witnessed that. And so you could argue that it's a figment of their imagination, that that as soon as they went through a door, they were basically put in a trance or like a coma. Or augmented reality or something, or basically, or like some kind of situation like that. But then why can they take items back with them? Why? Because I feel like that kind of debunks it. So Emily Rada actually is making this annoyingly clear. So, in these infinite universes, basically, this is where it gets crazy. Because these skimmer things are attacking this little city, Weld, which then the warden, which is just this big idiot guy, he sounds very presidential for the United States. Y'all should know what I'm talking about. Just in general, like, if you think about our history. Never mind. Yeah, he just seems like he would be a great candidate. Yeah, I don't care at this point. I do a little bit, you know? But anyway. Point being, there's this, like, warden guy. Yeah, he's like this little warden, and he's like, you know what? Skimmers are killing people, so we want to get rid of all the people that hate me, and are like, and think I'm not doing anything. So I'm going to give them a chance to do something about it. But I'm really not. I'm just going to have them all die in these other dimensions. And so he sends them through the doors to the past and future and present, and just locks them out, basically. But here's the thing. He only made that decision to open up the doors to the public because there were skimmers. And originally, when they go into the past, there's this ruler called Ult, which they then kill. But the main characters, they grew up in a place that was defined partially by the fact that Ult was still the ruler when they grew up. So, there's that. And when then they return to the present, maybe this rules out the multiple parallel universes theory. It doesn't fully rule out, because this could be a weird combination of two, because this is an infinite number of realities that all have a variation of one, but sometimes you have to have a variation of multiple. So it's just kind of weird, because it's one on one, so it stacks. But when they get back to the present, everyone else in the present has the same memories of the skimmers and stuff that they did before. But they end up killing this guy Ult, and Ult may have changed that, and if Ult was still around, like, the people may have been attacking that area, or just like the skimmers may have been attacking Ult's city, and Ult may have, like, ended up destroying them. Like, Ult wouldn't like that. That kind of sucks to have your people killed. I mean, he was killing them, but to keep himself alive, he has no reason to let skimmers kill them. And, like, he probably would end up working he might end up working a thing out with Weld, or Weld might have died first. But Weld might have died first. We don't know. So, possibly the fact that they killed him defined their future. Therefore, and I understand this is circular logic, the only reason that in this reality, that dimension started as soon as they went through the door. Because as soon as they went through the door, it changed, the past changed, which means their past never existed. Because, like, they lived it, yes, and it exists in another reality, but it never existed in theirs, because they grew up on Ult being there, and then they went and killed Ult. Or they grew up on Ult not being there. This is what I'm arguing. That's I say circular logic, because it is, but valid theory at this point, because I'm so confused. Or they kill Ult in the past, which is in the future, right? It's in the future because they were born in the future, but then they go back to their past, which is Ult's present, right? And I say that it's someone else's present because it is someone else's present, and those other people are still interacting, and their lives could have changed because they met these people. In fact, they did. They saved countless lives of civilians there, and maybe caused the deaths of countless people in the future in a specific reality. So, they go to the past, and they kill this old guy. Old guy. Not old guy. I mean, he's an old guy. He's like immortal or something. He kills youth to do that. He's like a children killer, like a Promised Neverland situation almost, but he doesn't eat their brains. Actually, it's debatable whether he does. I don't know. But point being, their reality starts as soon as they go through the door, because they only lived their past because Ult was dead, and the only reason Ult was dead was because their past was there, which means there was either two pasts, one where there were skimmers, one where there weren't, or were less, or something different happened. Or there's one past and it's entirely based on them on their future. So their past is based on their future, which comes at the time before their past. Right? Because chronologically, from the world's perspective, their future,
like, before, like, they're after their child, like, when they go through the doors, they are older, chronologically from the human's perspective, that is older for them than before they went in the doors. But chronologically from the world's perspective, them going through the doors, they are then younger than they were when they were an infant. Great. I'm sure you're very confused. I'm sorry. Yeah. So, in that case, I don't know when the reality started. Yeah. Another thing is that you could put it on the power of minds. You could say that they go into a trance, but then why can you bring items in and back and forth? I'm so confused, okay? But I love this. This is part of why I like Deltora Quest and the Three Doors series so much. It's incredible. It's incredible. Like, I love this, but I feel like there might be loopholes. And I need help, you guys. I'm confuzzled. Yeah.